start with our floor plan. We're going to need to change our floor plan first. Make a mark and measure 2 feet. So I'm lining this corner up with my first foot. I'm marking my first foot and my second foot, and I'm going to drop it below and put 2 feet. And I'll put 2 feet on the other side. It'll make it easier to do. And just extend all the lines down. Our coffee table should be at least 1.5 feet away from our sofa. So if our sofa ends here, we need to count down 1 foot and 1/2 foot. And on the other side, 1 foot and 1/2 foot. And we're going to make ours a conservative 1.5 feet deep. So let's put our half line in. And it's 4 feet wide. So if this is the center here, count back 2 from the center. So I've got 4 feet this way, and it's 1.5 feet away from the sofa, and 1.5 feet. So if you check now, that should make it 1 foot in from the front of the floor plan, and at 4 and 8. Our light fixture will be just almost in the center between our coffee table and our sofa. That will be quite easy to put in. But what's a little more tricky is our gable, since we now have to bring it forward to the 7 feet, not just the 5 feet. To make it more accessible, let's just cover up the first 2 feet here on our grid with one of our papers. And you can just tape it on the side. So let's extend this a little bit. And we just need to know that this wall continues up here. So let's just, and you can use your, don't forget to use your vanishing point. So we've covered up the first 2 feet with our piece of paper, and we're putting a point where the edge of our grid is. Now, the top, it looks like it does in the video now. After you've got that on, do a vertical at the center. And you're going to choose an angle for your gable. So just choose something gentle, not too high, where we're going to run out of paper. And you just choose a dot along the vertical line for how high your gable is going to go up. Because in the video we go from 5 boxes forward from the back wall, we're going to do the same thing here. And that's all you have to do. So this is completely arbitrary. You could choose anything. You could choose up here or here, but that would run off for paper, so I wouldn't advise that. But it's a possibility. And do that here. If we've reshaped our wall outside, out here, and the reason we chose to resize it here is because that's easier to judge than the one far away. Because the one far away could look small, and then we bring it forward, and it could be enormous. So it made sense to start back here. But we do have to reshape the back wall now. We have to do that. So how we're going to do it is that we're going to, along our gable, this is at the front, right? We're going to choose a line that's going to help us measure. And we're going to use our vanishing point. I'm just doing it roughly to show you what we're going to do, and then we'll do it. And we're going to use our vanishing point to bring that line. I just walked over 2 feet, because I can't use that to measure, because the whole thing is a straight line throughout its whole length. So it's not going to be very helpful. But if I go over here, I can use my vanishing point, and I get 2 lines that are actually parallel. They don't look it, but they're parallel. So if I want to go 2 feet back, I just have to walk over to here, make another vertical, and I'd be able to know how big the gable is at this point in the room. You see? So I'm taking this measure and dropping it back, and anytime I bring a line over, if you were doing beams on your ceiling, this is kind of a good way to think about it. And then see, I could see how big is my gable at this point. And what we're after, though, is how big is the gable at the back here. That's what we really urgently need to know now. So where it crosses this line, I go up, and that gives me this. So that'll give me what my gable should look like at the back. So it's just a simple triangle that we're making. So let's try it out now here. So the first thing to do is walk 2 boxes over and make a vertical. And you can line it up a little bit. Look at the boxes down below to help you get a straight line. So that's my measuring line. So now that we have our measuring line up, our vertical, we're going to line this up with the top, line it up with our vanishing point, and bring that along. And then all you need is to make a vertical from here, because this is on the back wall, right in line with that. And if I make a vertical now, I'll see that the measure is here. Now, it just so happened for mine that it landed on the 3rd box in, but that's not where yours is going to line up. It could line up here or there, because your angle will probably be different. So don't look at the grid itself. Just think about how you did it. You brought this line down, and yours might be higher or lower than mine. It doesn't matter. And now I'm just going to join this to this. And that'll give me my gable at the back. So they don't look exactly parallel, do they? But that's correct, though, because there's something called foreshortening. and we see it all the time. We see it in this box, that this measurement is actually this small at the back wall. So that's how that goes. We have to figure out how big is the gable at 7 feet. Remember, we've added those 2 feet. Somebody did. Some troublemaker. So now we have to extend this line out to the end of the grid. And this one, we don't know how far to extend it. We're just going to extend it. Just like before, see how it was dependent on this horizontal line to find the dot? So let's go along the horizontal line again at the end of the grid and go straight up, because this crosses my perspective line. So I go straight up, and this will be the angle for the gable at 7 feet. And we just go down the other side. The back wall, it looks like this now. It no longer looks flat. It's all of a one, all of a piece, and it looks like that. Now there's an interesting thing about our light fixture. It hangs 1 foot in from the 5-foot edge of the grid. See, it hangs from here, not here. It hangs from there. So we have to find that now. So let's do this one more time, and we'll know where the grid, where the light's going to hang. So find 4. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes from the back wall. Follow the formula. Go along and make a mark where our perspective line that we've chosen hits. Go straight up, and you get a point here. And we just have to bring that along from 4 over. I know it's intimidating. There seem to be way too many lines already, and we've only just started, but you'll get used to it. And then remember, make sure to do 4 on the other side as well. The light itself, it's going to be right at the 5 feet. Remember, this grid hasn't been altered. So it's right there, and then it comes back, and then it drops down. The box for the light is 2 feet wide and 2 feet deep. So on the ceiling, you map it out that way. 2 feet wide and 2 feet deep. And then you drop it down. So, see, it has to drop down and make a box. So, you'll see in the video how to do that. But we've got your gable in now, so you're off to a good start. The next thing we need to do is to get that coffee table in, because that's not in the videos, and it'll be a good example of how to measure using the wall. Last week we made a simple box for our chair, and that's exactly what you're going to do this week, but for a few more pieces of furniture. But it's essentially the same thing that we did here. we're going to stop there. We're not going to go any further. You're going to choose your design style and make your collage, but you're not going to do anything more about this furniture than that. That's it. That's where it stops. And next week, we're going to do what we did with this drawing. You remember what we did with this drawing was put a piece of marker paper over top and detailed the chair. It went from being a simple box to a chair. So that's next week. Okay. But this week as well, you need to put your figure in. You've got to get either your man. Remember, a man, you have to measure him against the wall. He's 6 feet. And there is the video that explains that again for you, so you'll know how to do that. Let's go in 1 foot. We go in 1 foot. We go over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up 1 foot. Over 4. So we're at 8. We go back 1.5. 1.5. 1.5. Okay, so that's our grid. And you might want to use your colored pencils to help you see it. It's kind of, these black lines are a little aggressive, so. When I did my one, I used the red line to outline everything, and then I put a different color for which way each plane was facing. So all the top planes and the undersides I have in yellow, and you can use whatever color you like, of course. And I've got sort of a cerulean blue for the facing planes, and the side planes are in purple. That might come in handy when we do our shading later. We've got it. So this is the shape of our coffee table. To relate this to how you're going to do the whole box drawing, you could do everything this way first. Do all your floor plan, do the whole floor plan flat like this, and then raise it up all at once. When you go to raise this up, you take it to the wall, walk it to the wall. So much of what we do on the grid, just like this, you go along a line, you have another line, and you go across. So much of what we do, we need the wall for. So we go up 1.5, so the coffee table is 1.5. Let's map it out on our elevation, so you have a diagram of the height as well as me just saying it out loud. So we're going to go from 4 over to 8, and we'll put up our vertical. And that's it. That's essentially it. Now remember, with an elevation, you can't really see anything other than its height and its width, and unless it's overlapping something, in this case we're at least overlapping the sofa, you can't even tell where it is in the room. It's not really meant to do that. That's the job of the floor plan. But at least now we know, we can tell that it's, by counting the boxes, that it's 1.5. Now, floor plans don't usually have a grid behind them either. You usually use your triangular ruler to do your own measuring. We can go over to the wall, up 1.5, and then bring 1.5 over, but we don't have verticals. Remember, if you don't have your verticals up, even though you don't know how big to make them, just go overboard, because if they're not up, this won't make sense when you bring it over. So now I can bring the 1.5 over. Wherever it crosses the verticals, you know to go the other way. So use your vanishing point though. If you don't, you'll end up with a big surprise. And then they should line up, the back corners should line up straight across, or fairly close. You can, for the time being, just sort of lightly color these in. Don't do anything too harsh, but because you have to draw behind it. You have to put the sofa behind it. So just for now, just to clarify it for yourself, you can put it in just lightly. Now this is flavoring with your pencil crayon, and it's good training. So you just do small areas at a time. You don't ever want to press when you're using the colored pencils, because that's called burnishing. First of all, you won't have time to burnish. You have to do all this stuff very quickly. The other reason is that it will block out everything in behind. So you don't want to do that either. So just do little areas at a time, and we're going to also include one object in 2-point perspective. So for now, for the time being, we're going to put an example one in, but then you can choose whatever you want. You may end up wanting to put something on the coffee table, a book or a magazine, but you rarely ever see a room set up like this where everything is all lined up. It's very rare. Usually everything's all at different angles. So to give a little more reality to our space, we're going to have at least one thing. You can do more things, but at least one thing. So we're going to choose a point here and here and here and here, and join it up at a 45-degree angle. This will be another example too of showing you how 2-point perspective looks on a floor plan, on our floor plan. And we've chosen 45 degrees for this very reason. It makes things very easy. So if we measure this, it's not going to measure a foot the way that we would expect. It's going to be larger. So if we measure it against our grid, it's almost 1.5 feet. To put this on the elevation, this is interesting. This is our corner. When we draw it in perspective, you'll see it's going to look like this, or this configuration. Not exactly like this, but it should look something like this. We'll be able to look into the corner and see two sides. But on our elevation, it looks really interesting. We're going to go up 1.5 again. Yeah, I think 1.5. We don't know how big it is. Let's go up 1.5. We're doing everything 1.5 now today. And we'll go over 2. And you draw a square box. Just draw a box. It's not actually square. Draw a box. here we just have this. There's one side, there's the right hand side of it, and there's the left hand side of it. So now let's draw it on our grid. Let's start it out the same way we started this box. Let's just divide these boxes in half. What you'll notice though, if you line it up with the left VP, you'll see that it's going to do the same thing. It'll help you to line these up. And let's use our right vanishing point. And it'll help you line up the others. And let's do the back. So that pretty little square that we had here doesn't look like that anymore at the back here. So, but it's correct. We know it's 1.5 feet high. So we can mark it on this box here at the back. And then you use your vanishing points. So I'll use this right vanishing point to bring it over this way. And then there's my vertical. So I have to go the other way. And I don't have a vertical up at the front. So that's a problem. So I have to put that in. And use my right vanishing point. And again, I'm missing a vertical. And if I use my left vanishing point, these two corners will line up. And that's a 2-point object, and it doesn't look anything like this, it doesn't look anything like this, but it's in the right place beside the sofa. Now, when we draw the sofa up, it's going to cover partially it, and that's okay. Don't worry about that if it covers partially. So, if this goes 1, 2, 3, and it's 2.5 over, 2.5, 1, 2, 3. See, the sofa's going to cover it. It's going to cover a little bit of it at the back here. And that's okay. Don't worry about that. It actually looks better when there's some overlapping. So, now I'm going to color this in. This is our right side. And it's okay to leave your inside lines in. Don't worry about that. It helps me to see your thinking, how you thought it through. So we always want to be thinking in perspective so that you can repeat this when you're in a tight situation and you're trying to figure out how to map something out. You'll have all these ideas. I should have made this blue. We have our 2-point thing that might change. You might decide to put it on the coffee table or put it out here. Could be nice out here beside your bookcase. Her eyes are on the eye level, and she kind of almost She's a little too busy, though. She's taking up too much attention. So when you choose your folks, maybe choose a calm person. So let's see now. This fella is, I think I like doing this too much, way too much. So, and you will too, eventually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can actually put him against the wall and see where 6 foot would be. And then because it's 1-point perspective, you can just sail him across at the same line. So here he is. He's so well behaved, this fellow. See, look at that. He doesn't mind being in there at all. But he might be in the way of my sofa, so I'll have to get my sofa in first. So don't forget, you have to have 1.5 feet before the sofa begins. So the sofa begins back here. You're going to drop your light in. Everybody knows it hangs from here now. We have a spot for it. When you're looking at these elevations for the wall, that we've added 2 feet. So the 2 feet added to this elevation appear here in front of the fireplace. So the fireplace is going to be 1 foot away from the back wall. So it's going to start here. It's going to go for 4 feet all the way out to 5 feet. And then we have 2 feet left over in front of the fireplace. So that's important. Then on this side, it's a little different. When you're drawing the bookcase, leave 2 boxes from the back wall and have 2 boxes for the bookcase and then 1 left over. And then we have added 2 on the new grid. So now that means that we could have a larger shelving unit on that wall, or fill the wall with wall hanging or a picture or maybe another window. We could do something over there. So we've got lots more room now. We've got 3 feet.